What's going on? This is Big G from G Riders, and welcome to another episode of Testing Rides. Today, I'm going to be testing out the 2020 Kia Sportage EX. Welcome to the 2020 Kia Sportage. So this generation of the Kia Sportage was introduced for the 2017 model year. And this version of the Kia Sportage, they did something very, very different with the styling. So they made it a lot more unique than all the other crossovers on the road. And you can look here, like, it doesn't look like really anything else. It kind of looks a bit buggy, but it's unique. So, and that's what kind of stands out in this class, is having something that looks a little bit different. So here for the 2020 model year of the Kia Sportage, they did a slight facelift. So they did some slight changes to the interior, to the exterior, as in the front and the rear, and also some small changes on the interior. We'll talk about those when we take a look around the car. This is the 2020 Kia Sportage, and all 2020 Kia Sportages come standard with the inline 2.4 four-cylinder, making 181 horsepower and 176 foot-pounds of torque. Because it's an all-wheel drive small crossover, it does weigh just over 3,400 pounds, which is average. That's about average for every vehicle in this size. Like, if it weighs more than that, then it needs to be bigger. But despite that average weight, it gets below average fuel economy at 22 in the city and 26 out on the highway. At this point, all other small four-cylinder crossovers are getting over 25 in the city and around 30 or over 30 on the highway. So this little 22 city, 26 highway, numbers would have been good about 4 or 5 years ago, but at this point, that's unacceptable. So Kia really needs to do something different with their powertrains when they go to redesign this vehicle. As you may see, this car has Canadian license plates on it. And we are not in Canada, we're in Oregon, which is in the US. So this section right here, I'm going to talk about the pricing on this vehicle, because it's very differently spec'd than this particular one here.
So, welcome to the 2020 Kia Sportage EX. Since this is an odd Canadian spec, I decided to throw this into the video so we can get a clear idea on the options list that this car should have. So, as you can see, that this is the Kia Sportage EX, but this one has a sunroof, so that means that this one would typically have the EX technology package. And as you can see, that technology package is about $4,500, so up from the starting base price of $27,000, this one would be about $34,000, as you can see here. But also would include a lot more equipment like adaptive cruise control, LED headlights, and the premium sound system, and more. So I wish I was able to test one with all these different options on it, but this car still is quite nice, even though it doesn't have everything. So I feel like this one will still be more equivalent to the S model than the EX that we have in the US.
Before we go out on the road, let's go ahead and take a look around the interior and exterior of this 2020 Kia Sportage. Welcome to the walk around of the 2020 Kia Sportage. So let's go ahead and start here on the front of the 2020 Kia Sportage, and let's look at the front. So the Kia Sportage was facelifted for this year, as we've been talking, and that's kind of what happened here in the front. So as you can see, there's like a chrome bar that goes right in the middle of the bumper, and they kind of restyled the fog lights a little bit. They look like the same ones from before, but they're like restyled and kind of with the location. And if you get a higher model, you get LED fog lights, just like you did when the pre-facelift one. And this year you get LED headlights, which has a different LED daytime running light than the one that's here. So it's kind of like a square shape. I'll put a picture of it here, but it kind of looks like the Porsche style with the 4 dots for the daytime running lights, and those look pretty awesome. And I wish this one would have had it so I can kind of check that out. Walking to the side of the 2020 Kia Sportage, as you can see from the front, it does have, as you can see here, it has a different wheel design. It looks like the wheel design that you get on a Subaru Crosstrek Limited, and I really like this design. I think it works really well for this style of vehicle. Walk around the side, not a whole lot has changed here in the side. And let's go around to the rear. So they changed the tail light design slightly in the rear. So if we look here, it has like like an outer ring here, and then it has like 2 lights in the middle. This does not have the LED tail lights, but if it did, it would look different. But I like that they restyled these ones to kind of resemble what the LED tail lights would look like if it had them. So you're kind of not like feel like you're missing out on something, on features, when you get kind of the lower, when you have to get the lower model. And this is a EX trim for the Canadian market, of course. And you guys just saw the portion where I talked about kind of where this kind of car, what trim this would be here in the US. And let's go ahead and open up the cargo area. So the cargo area is pretty decent in this vehicle. It's about average for the class. I'll put up the official number here, but pretty decent. All right, let's go take a look at the interior of the car. All right, let's go ahead and hop in and see what it's like. All right, welcome to the interior of the 2020 Kia Sportage. We get into the 2020 Kia Sportage. It's a decently nice place. This is not like a particularly loaded model, so like kind of where you touch, it's not the nicest or the softest of qualities, but it's not bad. Like it's like decently soft touch. The dash, decently soft touch. It has like some kind of fake looking stitching up here on the top, which doesn't look that bad. It's not bad at all. Like the gauge cluster is not like the half digital one, but then like you go to the middle here and you have the upgraded screen, which is, I believe, is 8 inches. I'll put up, if it's not, I'll put up what it actually is, but it's pretty big and it's very clear, but also it's pretty clear. And then like the steering wheel is a nice design. Like this is similar to like an Audi style steering wheel from a couple years ago. So it has the round airbag and has all the buttons and everything here, but these are kind of a lot of buttons. Like the one thing that I've noticed about the cabin of this Kia Sportage is there's like a lot of buttons here. So there's 4 knobs here, and they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 buttons in here, up here, where they all control different things. This has the heated seats and of course and a heated steering wheel because this is the Canadian model, and they give you that stuff kind of on low end models up there. But then they could kind of simplify this a little bit more, or give you like the automatic climate control at this point, and like they can simplify these buttons somewhere, or they can make this a little bit wider and then put some of this stuff in the screen there. Because honestly, only buttons I really would want for here are radio, media, and home. Phone and setup could be inside the menu and make it easily accessible in the menu. But that's just my opinion there. So looking down at the bottom here, you have your parking brake controller. You have your lock for your all-wheel drive, your auto hold, drive modes, and downhill assist, which is pretty nice that comes on there. So if you look up a little bit, there is a wireless charger up there, and there's your USB port and both of your 12 volt plug-ins. So I'm going to go ahead and fire up the engine here, and so we can see the screen come to life. So as you can see, this is your standard issue Kia infotainment system. Like it has the apps and has the menus and stuff. All menus. It just has a couple things, since this one doesn't have a GPS or a whole lot of features on it. Setup, all that good stuff. You can change what your screensaver looks like to a digital clock or advanced options. And you can change what your steering wheel controls do, which is kind of cool. So, you know, all this basic stuff here. Home screen, you can see what your home screen looks like. But honestly, it's your standard issue Kia infotainment system, and it works very well. Like I have no complaints about it. And like I said before, like I always say, like with cars now, I just kind of do what most people do, is they get in, they just plug in their Apple CarPlay and use that for maps or music or whatever. So, you know, I'm the same there. But like I said about all these dang buttons here, like they can move some of this stuff to the infotainment and save some buttons on the dash here. So, all right, one annoying thing, let's take a look at up top here. So this is the sunroof control for the giant panoramic sunroof you see up top. So I'm gonna go ahead and close it. So it closes the sunroof and the shade at the same time. So let's go ahead and click that again. This is definitely kind of one of the quickest panoramic sunroof opening sequences that I've seen in cars. I think that's pretty cool. And it still opens pretty big, because I know sometimes panoramic sunroofs, they don't actually open that far, and this one opens pretty good. So that, I like that. One annoying thing though, so like if you click the button, let's go ahead and go back up top. When you click the button, it closes both the sunroof and the shade if you double click. But so like I like to keep my shade open. But if you just single click it, it actually kind of keeps the sunroof shade open. But you have to like be very particular in how you touch the button for the sunroof shade to stay open. So I kind of find that a little bit annoying. I wish it had two separate. Like, I don't know what's going to be good for a sunroof control, because I hate when some cars have two different controls, but also find it annoying when they do put it in one control. Then they kind of, it's a little finicky when trying to close the shade and things like that. I kind of like the way Volkswagen used to do it. So they used to have a knob to open up the sunroof, and then they had a button to open the shade on the actual knob. So I think that's cool, and I think that more companies should utilize that for their sunroof control. So do like a button for the shade and actually use the toggle switch for the actual sunroof control. But, you know, so for the most part, the interior of the Kia Sportage is really nice. Like, it's pretty well equipped in terms of being a $31,000 car. It's very comfortable. Like, you guys know I'm a big dude, over 6 feet tall, over 350 pounds. And, you know, it's very comfortable. So, you know, I can't complain about that at all. And, you know, pretty good quality for being a car that's cheap. Like, I mean, a couple things should improve. Like, they should cut down on the amount of buttons that are up here on the dash, and they should like incorporate some of that stuff into the infotainment. And also they should put a better sound system in this vehicle, with this being the mid-range model, because it's not great. It got decent bass and it's decently clear, but sometimes it like stops working. So that's a little annoying. So let's go ahead and head on the road and see how this thing handles and drives. Welcome to the driving portion of the 2020 Kia Sportage. Let's go ahead and head on the road and see how this thing drives. All right, so welcome to the driving portion of the 2020 Kia Sportage. And the first thing that I noticed when I heading out on this car, that it's very smooth to drive. Like, all these small 4-cylinder crossovers are just really good to drive now, and it's really nice. Like, I remember I reviewed this body style Kia Sportage when it first came out back for the 2017 model year, and I really liked it back then. But this time I'm reviewing a higher model. As you can see, it has the sunroof, so you know, you guys can actually see me on this pretty sunny day. But you know, the Kia Sportage just drives really nice. So let's go ahead and kick it over into sport mode, and let's talk about some of my favorite features about this car. All right, so this has the naturally aspirated 2.4 liter inline 4-cylinder, making about 181 horsepower. And honestly, it's adequate for this car. It's not like it's powerful or anything like that. It's just really just, you know, your generic base 4-cylinder that comes in crossovers like this. But one thing about this Kia Sportage is in the sport mode, the steering response is really quick. Probably one of the quicker the steering responses I've felt in crossovers this size. So just quick tug of the steering wheel, the front end of the car responds so quickly. I actually haven't experienced any of the family crossovers that respond this quick. Like, the CX-5 has pretty good steering feel, but honestly, this steering response is still like much quicker than even the CX-5, which is saying a lot. That's a huge compliment to this steering in this Kia Sportage. So, like, you know, this car handles actually really nice. Besides the steering response, like, the rest of the handling is pretty good, but it'd be really nice to see some type of torque vectoring system on this vehicle, because I think if this vehicle had torque vectoring with this kind of quicker steering response, this would be probably one of the best handling of the crossovers this size. with good steering response and pretty decent handling in the corners, even though it needs like a torque vectoring system. One of the weak points of the way this thing drives is the transmission. Yes, this transmission is fine if you're just driving along in the city, and most people who will buy this, most people are looking at this car really are be fine with this transmission. It's just your average transmission. It's pretty smooth, pretty easy, pretty seamless. It lacks any type of excitement. So like, you know, upshifts, downshifts are just really lazy, especially if you're using the manual mode and on the transmission. But again, this is not that type of crossover where honestly the buyer of this car is not going to be really using that manual mode. But I thought I'd mention it just because that's just kind of what I noticed when I'm driving the car. It's not as sharp as something like the Mazda CX-5 in terms of its regular transmission. So I mentioned the Mazda CX-5 when talking about this car a lot because there are two different types of like family crossovers. There is the, you know, the soft kind of boring crossovers this size that just kind of gets the job done and offers a lot of space and no really driving involvement. So cars like the Honda CR-V and the Nissan Rogue, there's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes all you want is a good driving vehicle that's quiet, smooth, kind of soft, rides really nice. I mentioned that, but this one is more fun to drive, sportier. I put that in quotes of the. This is one of the sportier types of the small family crossover. So stuff like Mazda CX-5, I would say the new Toyota, the 2019 Toyota RAV4, and cars like the Ford Escapes. All cars like that kind of have some type of good, fun to drive driving dynamic. This is a good in-between middle vehicle between both of those types of vehicles. So the Mazda CX-5 is probably one of the sportiest of the small crossover this size, and the Honda CR-V is more of like a really far in the direction of more the comfortable versions of the comfortable kind of characteristics in this class. So this is right in the middle where it's pretty comfortable but also pretty fun to drive. So with this one having the 2.4 liter 4-cylinder, you expect this to get very, very good gas mileage, and honestly, disappointingly, it actually really doesn't. Like, this only gets like 21, 22 in the city and 27 out on the highway, and honestly at this point that's not very good because crossovers with more power are getting about the same gas mileage at this point. But you know, you can get the turbo model, but again, like, the fuel economy numbers aren't great. I think what needs to happen with this crossover, and for it to get better gas mileage, the powertrain is fine. I think this powertrain is okay, but the thing about it is it's probably going to need to get, I think they should make like the 1.6 turbo or something standard on this model, so they can put, you know, more gears in the transmission in order to have some lower so it can have some lower cruising ranges. But you know, this car was only facelifted for 2020, not redesigned. So whenever the redesign comes, I'm sure Kia is going to do something crazy, do something much different with that powertrain when the time comes. So what are some things I don't like about this model? Well, I don't remember if I talked about this when I reviewed the 2017, but I don't like that this vehicle doesn't have a window in the back quarter. So like what they did instead is they made the rear doors a lot longer, so you can get a little bit of a quarter window built into the rear door, and that's kind of been a Kia Sportage design cue since it got redesigned back in 2011. But I don't really like it because when you look over, you can't really see like part of the back, and I think they need to put like another little third window back there. But again, that might like hurt their styling a little bit too much, so they may not want to do it, but I really feel like it's needed. And also with the sunroof, like I have okay headroom, but I feel like I'm losing a lot of headroom with the sunroof in this vehicle. But that's typical for crossovers for any type of vehicle with the sunroof, is you lose a little bit of headroom. But I find it a little bit annoying because I wish the seat would go like a little bit lower, and then I'll be fine. You know, also like I feel like there's a few too many buttons in the center console area. I talked about that more in the walk around portion of the video, but I think that they can cut down on some of the buttons down there and just make just like a few shortcut buttons and call it good with all these, because you know there is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20. There's 20 buttons and 4 dials. I think that's a little bit too much, so it'd be nice if they can kind of shrink this down a little bit in terms of the amount of buttons that this has. And I do like that, you know, times are different now from when I reviewed the old Kia, the Kia Sportage before, where I love the bigger screen, and that's standard equipment in a lot of models. I believe it was 2018 and above, Kia models came with the screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and I had no problems with the Kia infotainment system. It's fast, it works really well, you know. But for the most part, I just connect my Apple CarPlay and really don't use any of the other, and doesn't really use the rest of the infotainment system. And I feel like as we start moving forward, more and more people are going to be doing that. So honestly, the 2020 Kia Sportage is a really good SUV. Like, it offers some very good luxury features. I think the Kia Sportage looks good, and especially if you get one of the higher models with the LED headlights with the cool Porsche looking 4-dot LED daytime running lights, I think that'd be pretty. I think that looks really good, and I think they made the Kia Sportage look less buggy as a previous model. But honestly, what I do like about it too is it's a very unique looking vehicle for the segment. Like, a lot of the crossovers are really starting to look the same in the segment, and you can't really tell what year is what and which model is what. So it's really nice that Kia kind of made theirs look slightly different, kind of with their tiger nose grille, and with kind of their placement of the headlights. I think it's pretty awesome. You know, if Kia wants to continue selling this vehicle, which they will, because this is a small crossover, that's what everybody buys nowadays. They need to make this car get a little bit better gas mileage, because this car needs to see at least 30 even with all-wheel drive. You can get 30 in the two-wheel drive model, but it needs to be hitting 30 plus at least with the two-wheel drive model and 30 with the all-wheel drive model. But it's still a very good SUV. And you know, if you're looking at buying one of these things, like, I definitely go drive it, but my personal opinion, I kind of would need to get the turbo model, because you know, the 181 horsepower with 34, almost 3,500 pounds, it's not quite enough. So, you know, definitely if you want to take a look at these, I would recommend getting the SX Turbo if you can swing that type of budget. You know, this one's already in the 30s, like $31,000, almost $32,000. So you can go up to the $35,000 model, and honestly, you'll be getting some more power if you're into that type of thing. But if you don't want all that, this is the perfect model for you. So if you're not really into having a whole lot of power, this is the perfect model for you. So if you like this video, hit me with a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and keep riding me. Thanks for watching.